We are often told that spiritual healing is all about love and light. But what if the real medicine, the thing that will actually help you heal your trauma, is hidden in the parts of yourself that feel the hardest to face and the least comfortable to talk about? Today, I am sitting down with a woman whose energy is this beautiful blend of deeply maternal and unapologetically badass. We're going to explore why your body might still be holding grief and old survival patterns you thought you had already worked through, and how you can begin to reclaim your agency, your joy, and your power. Plus, stay with us until the very end because my guest has promised to share one specific 2-minute somatic practice you can start using right after this episode to shift your nervous system from anxiety into grounded, sovereign presence. You do not want to miss that. Welcome to Awaken Your Authentic Self. Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to Awaken Your Authentic Self. If you're new here, I'm Jessica Rooks, and this podcast is a sanctuary for spiritual growth, emotional healing, and conscious living. My intention is to hold space for the kinds of conversations that help you move through spiritual awakening, regulate your nervous system, and gently come home to who you truly are beneath the conditioning and the chaos. Whether you were in the middle of a dark night of the soul, navigating burnout, or simply feeling called to live more authentically, you are so welcome here. Today's guest is a bridge between worlds. She carries titles that rarely sit next to each other. She is a Shamanic Medicine Woman, a Bon Kinsha, which is an Irish keening grief tender, but also an executive coach and art historian. Martha Wright is a vessel of divine energy who believes that if we do our inner work, we can heal not just ourselves, but the land that nourishes us. She works with the Celtic traditions, shamanic energy healing, and somatic awareness to help people move from performative spirituality into embodied wisdom. She is here to help you liberate your body from the burdens of repressed joy and anger so you can walk through your day with ease. Please join me in welcoming the wise, the wild, and the wonderfully real Martha Wright. Welcome, Martha.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Jessica. This is wonderful.
I am so glad to have you here. Well, let's get started. Martha, I promised our listeners that by the end of this conversation, you would share one specific 2-minute somatic practice that they can do right after the episode. And that's to help begin shifting their nervous system from anxiety into that sense of sovereignty and grounded presence. But before we actually walk them through the practice later on, can you first paint a picture for us? What kind of shift have you seen this simple tool create for your clients emotionally, energetically, or even spiritually when they commit to using it regularly? Let's get them excited for this.
Sure. Well, the practice that the practice that I'll be sharing with you all is not something that I share cohesively like across all my clients. So the way my practice works is that I show up as this bridge. And yes, I have all this wisdom that I've gained and learned and experience that I have gained and amassed. But what I bring to the individual and what I bring to the group is specific to them and specific to the container of the group. So your listeners today will be getting something that I learned earlier on in my shamanic apprenticeships that I don't often share with many clients, but it feels like the right thing to share for you all. And it's integrating a bit of energy, a bit of breath, and a bit of ancient Egyptian mystery work. So I think it's going to be and it's not like, some people may already know what this is, but my hope is that it is the very thing that everyone needs to be reminded of or be taught to begin with, um, to help them feel grounded, contained, supported. Contained is not the right word. Contained within themselves is what I mean, within themselves. So they don't feel like they're just wide open and feeling everything or being pulled too much, contained within oneself. So that's the concept of sovereignty, is being of the land is the land, and true and whole unto oneself. So that's what I'm hoping. But we'll see. Hopefully your listeners will let you know what they think.
I love that. Yay. Well, Martha, your bio beautifully describes you as a mix of maternal and badass. And my people know I don't curse, but for you, in the spiritual community, we often hear about love and light, but you talk about facing the hard crap, to put it lightly. Why is that fierce, badass energy actually necessary for real trauma healing? And where do most people get stuck trying to be too polite with their pain?
Ooh, that's a great question. And thank you for that invitation. Yeah, so love and light is wonderful. It's celebrating what's already been reclaimed, it's celebrating what's already been embodied. But the truth is, we carry so much in our physical bodies, and our soul selves that are encased in this physical form also have a bit of baggage and trauma that carries through lifetimes as well. And the truth is, we call it shadow, and a lot of the spiritual community likes to malign the shadow or prefers to, because no one really wants to deal with the dark, scary stuff. But it's
Right,
not really dark or scary. It's dark because it's hidden, and it's scary because it's real.
right,
And people don't necessarily like to feel the intensity of their unprocessed traumas or burdens, their suppressed rage or joy. I mean, I have witnessed in my work not only people who let out, primal screams in the middle of sessions, but also people who have let out orgasms. And it's not to say that they were repressed during a sexual situation, but they may have. But
right,
it could have been that they were taught to not be allowed to feel joy and pleasure. And pleasure isn't always sexual, right? Pleasure
right.
is enjoying a gorgeous cup of coffee or hot chocolate. It's seeing the sunrise or the sunset and letting the beauty of the colors in the sky just permeate your body, and just feeling the love of everything. And so the shadow is basically the chaos energy that encapsulates the very thing that had been repressed, suppressed, or traumatized, that has not been able to come home to the heart, come home to the soul self. So we have to move through the shadow. We have to witness that chaos in order to retrieve, to reclaim that aspect of our soul self that's ready to come home, that's ready to heal, to be remembered, to be witnessed, to be loved. Truly, so much of it is love. And so the love and light is important because it's the very uh, chariot or spear or lamppost that we carry into the shadow, trusting that the very process of experiencing this chaos is purposeful, is intentional, and it will get us to something truly beautiful. And so being a shadow warrior, being someone who helps people navigate that shadow work, it's what the most important thing to remember is that you're not where you were when this first situation happened.
Right.
So I I am in we are in my space, or you're at home and we're doing it virtually. You are in a bed with blankets with a tea next to you, or you're on my table and I have sound chimes going and I'm breathing with you and my hand is there to hold. You're not alone. You have someone walking with you. Presumably you're working with a healer or doing this within a group setting, but you're not alone, and you are allowed. And I think that's one of the most powerful medicines that anyone can truly bring in. It isn't psychedelics, it isn't flower essences, it isn't talk or energy healing. Yes, all those things are incredibly powerful. The most powerful medicine you can inhabit is permission. You give yourself permission to feel, to heal, and reclaim. And so the polite part, that shit goes out, sorry, that goes
That's
out the
okay.
window. that goes out the window. We aren't here to be polite and to pretend to wear masks and to be the
Right. We're
sweet
not.
version of ourselves that we were conditioned to be. We're here to get some work done. We're here to go into the chaos and say, I see you, chaos. I can feel you. I'm letting you out, shaking out, crying, moaning, yawning, whatever is stretching our bodies, like whatever somatically and audibly, energetically needs to be released, we do it and we embrace it, because it's not the chaos we care about, it's the means to the end, which is that reclamation of the wounded self, of the soul self that's waiting to be loved and brought back into balance, brought back into the heart. So the polite stuff goes out the window, and the strength, the courage comes in with that love and that light in order to go in and help bring that peace home. And I just want to add one more thing is,
Sure.
I do not malign the shadow. The shadow kept us safe. The shadow is what helped us survive. In some way, small or large, the shadow had its purpose. So we do love that soul piece for getting stuck. We say, hey, it's okay that you got stuck. It's okay that you were forced here. I mean, it's not okay that you're forced here. It's okay that you've been here, that after being forced here, you stayed here, is what I should say, because that was not your fault. That was a consequence of the situation and other actors and bad intentions, etc. It depends on the situation. But we don't malign that soul piece, and we don't hate the chaos. It's a product of something of our past that brought us to where we are in the present. And so we celebrate where we are in the present and bring that soul piece with us to the present. So it's about that love is not just for that soul piece, but it's to say thank you to our body for all of it.
For protecting us and keeping us safe. Absolutely. That's a beautiful
Yeah.
description. Thank you for that. Thank you for that permission.
Yeah, thank you. It's so powerful. It's really amazing.
It
It's really
really
amazing.
sounds that way. Now, you carry titles, Martha, that span completely different worlds, from Shamanic Medicine Woman and Keening Grief Tender to executive coach and art historian.
Mm-hmm.
For the person listening who feels like they have to hide their spiritual side to be professional or vice versa, how do you integrate these identities without losing your authenticity?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's been a journey in itself. I think there was a part in my spiritual growth that I thought, that it was very performative, that I thought I had to be a certain way because that's what people do,
Right.
or that's what my mentor did, or that's what they said I could do, and so I should do that because I'm a good student. Or I would see what's happening on Instagram and be like, "Ah," like I wouldn't replicate, but I felt competitive, and I didn't like that. And so that's years ago. That was when I still had a shaved head. I have long hair now. The reason I say this is because if you look at my Instagram, it literally is like from the very first post where I have a shaved head to like today, it is just it's a hair growth. It's hair growth
Wow.
across
I
the whole
shaved my head
time.
at 16, so yeah.
Yes. And hair contains wisdom, it
Yes.
contains memory. And so I'm just marveling at the synchronicities of me shaving it right at the time that I had wrapped up my second or third apprenticeship. And I was starting to come into the ancestral practice of Celtic keening work.
Hmm.
And anyway, and then it moved on from there, and I've been growing it since then. But nonetheless, to answer your question, integrating has it's been a process. So I had to unlearn who I thought I was supposed to be, who I wanted to make people proud of, who I thought the community needed. I had to unlearn all of those things that I used as masks or identities,
Hmm.
or vehicles of approval and validation. And once I was able to do that, I started to see like, oh, there isn't a museum Martha and a shaman Martha. It's the same Martha. It's always me.
Right.
It's just different areas. And as soon as I let that go, spirit would just move me as a vehicle, as a mouthpiece for the divine. I would just be like intuitively guided somewhere. And I'd be like, okay, like I don't really want to go to this. Like I work at a university museum,
Okay.
and there was this faculty workshop, and I was like, This has nothing to, like, why would I? They're like, just go. And I'm like, all right. And like, I went and it was about like accounting. And I was like, what is happening? They're like, shh, it's fine, just stay. And then at the end, we get paired up and told like some prompts to like talk through things. We didn't even touch those prompts. From the moment this woman and I got paired up, I was like, so tell me a little bit about you. And next thing you know, because I think it's the energy that I carry,
Mhm.
she was crying and I was holding her hand and we were talking about some of the family things that she was going
She
through.
needed
And
you.
spirit, she needed me, and she needed the divine.
Mhm.
She needed spirit. And so I just felt it turn on and come through me. And I said, first, I always give people the opportunity to have free will. So I say, I'm feeling some guidance come through. Is that something you're open to? Because if someone just says, like, I need to tell you this, you have to do this, rude. Don't do
Right.
that.
Right.
Ask my permission, please.
Right. Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah, we all have agency. Let's respect that. And so I asked her permission. She said yes, and it just came out of me, and I couldn't even tell you what we talked about. But at the end, she was glowing, and she was like, "I needed that. Thank you so much." It's just because it's not about me,
Mhm.
and I think that finally clicked where sessions or just walking through daily life, being guided by spirit to speak to someone or do a thing, so rarely is it about me. And so when I let that go, this idea that it could ever be about me, it is so much better. And
Right.
so integrating it was just letting go of control, letting go of identities, and letting it be what it needed to be in the moment that it was in or that I was in. So, core shamanic principles and energy healing principles, I will kind of weave into museum visits when it's appropriate. And then I found myself so often in my spiritual work referring to paintings and sculptures and using them as visual metaphors for what the person might be somatically or emotionally expressing or feeling and not knowing how to express. So it's kind of beautiful
Aw.
how they just weave together, and it honestly just makes it so much more fun that way
Yes.
rather than being exclusively one thing or the other. That's so rigid. How boring.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love when you say that because about, it's not about you. And that was
Mhm.
something even I had to learn as a channel. When I was getting messages, I'd sit back and go, I'm not going to say that. Like, that doesn't even make any sense.
Mhm.
And I had to realize it's not supposed to make sense to me. It's supposed to make sense to them.
Right, right.
And you have to let go of that. And you, like you said, you just never know when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned that the body holds repressed joy, anger, and fear. Now, many of my listeners are heady. They understand
Mhm.
their trauma intellectually, but still feel stuck. Can you walk us
Yeah.
through a specific moment with a client where moving out of the story and into the body shifted something that talking never could have?
Ooh, yes. Um, okay, I'm thinking about a wonderful client who, I will, just loosely say has some very complex, trauma, and, because I don't wanna give too much information. Um,
No, absolutely
but
not. Confidentiality.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And but it's combat related and more than that. It's because it's always more than that, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's always a little bit of childhood, and there's always a little bit
Mm-hmm.
about like coming of
Generational.
age.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And so anyway, we were on the table and they've been doing therapy for years, a decade plus, and nothing, nothing, nothing. And I said, okay, why don't we just try some energy work? We'll just see. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And it's not for you, that's fine. We'll just go. Anyway, so we did a few sessions to kind of build up trust between their body and me. And then finally started bringing in some breath work and built up that connection and feeling safe with me. And then finally, we hit this one session where it was like they came in, they were like, I feel like a hot mess and I don't know what's going on, but my body feels quivery. And I was like, yeah,
Mm.
that's because your body is starting to somatically release.
Mm-hmm.
So, for this client and for your listeners, we are a bunch of muscles and bones and nerves, right? And our vagal nerve, and I'm not the best with numbers. I never have been, but I believe it's like 70% of information from our nerve endings go up through the vagal nerve, the vagus nerve, like this highway of nerve endings, up the spine to the brain. 70% goes upward to the brain to make sense of what am I experiencing in my physical form. Only 30% of energy comes back down. So if we could think ourselves to wholeness and balance and sovereignty or empowerment, yeah, that would be great. But only 30% of thinking that is actually making it back to the body.
Right.
So if we start to think about it that way, doing somatic releases, doing breath work, doing energy work, that helps to bring that divine truth that may be just sitting in the crown or sitting in the brain and bring it back down into the body. So what I explained to my client was like, what you're feeling today is the openness. Your body is open. Your mind doesn't understand it, and that's okay. It doesn't have to. We just need our brains to listen to some spa music and just hold on for the ride. It's going to
Right.
be okay. And so we started doing the session, and there was definitely this fight response, trauma response coming up, and I could see she was fighting herself, and
Mm,
I had to sit there and say, breathe with me, you have to breathe. And so there was this total mental override due to so much of her past experience and conditioning.
right.
And so it really took her saying, like, we did some resourcing and we did some regrounding as we continued to do the work. I didn't pause the work because it wasn't meant to be paused, but we brought her mental awareness back into the body as if to say, feel the table underneath you, feel the blanket on top of you, feel the pillow under your head, feel my hand holding yours. Now see the room, see the space you have, see the door, remember the car. We were using her brain to help her feel safe,
Right.
to feel her agency. And in doing that, something just clicked. And all of a sudden, ooh, she let go and like her eyes closed. And then she just turned on her side and went into a full somatic shakeout and crying. It was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I was incredibly impressed with her courage. And her strength and
Yeah.
everything really. But sometimes our brain can get very much in the way. And so this is where like leaning into trust and trusting our intuition, that voice, that knowing, that sensation or inclination that feels so right, even though it may not make any sense. It's so important that we follow that and just see where it takes us, because more often than not, our intuition, which is that voice of our higher self, the divine soul self within. And as our divine soul self, I argue, is connected to the divine,
Right.
the oneness. It is God's voice, it's the divine's voice. And so if we trust that voice, more often than not, it's going to lead us to where we need to go.
Absolutely. Actually, that's how I ended up where I am right now. I just remember thinking, you want me to do what? Oh, all right. And once I followed, and everything just opened up for me. So it's, yeah. I,
And it's scary,
it is
but it's
scary.
good.
It's fun once you just let go and go
Yeah.
with the flow. Absolutely. And just have fun with it.
Yeah.
And you realize, you know what? Spirit is working through me. God is working through me. And I'm being guided for a reason, and just have trust with the flow. And you just end up having fun in the process.
Right. Right. And that's kind of what we're here to do, isn't it? Like to live, to heal, to grow, to connect.
To
Yeah.
live and not just survive.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Now, I love how you weave Celtic spirituality with shamanic energy healing. For someone who feels a call to their ancestral roots, but feels disconnected or doesn't know where to start, how does keening or grief tending actually work as a tool for modern liberation?
Oh, yeah. So keening is, ooh, okay. So to mention the ancestral thing, I found I had done a few different apprenticeships in Egyptian mystery school. And then I did a little study in core shamanism. And so core shamanism basically means all of these attributes of different shamanic cultures, because shamanism is kind of the pre-modern religion religion. It wasn't a religion, it was a spiritual practice, and it still is.
Right.
But it's something that existed across all times and places. And so core shamanism says, like, okay, see how this ritual here, there, all is very similar, just different names. Well, that's okay, then a core shamanic practice. And so it's shamanism without an anchor in a tradition. And so I did a little study with that. And then I found myself needing more and I didn't know what. Excuse me. And I was like, okay, well, I could go to a living tradition, but I also am very aware in this modern time of how easily one could appropriate a living tradition that isn't ancestrally or culturally theirs.
Mm-hmm.
And so I sat with it, excuse me, and I was like, what do I do? It's like, God, spirit, what do I do? And then I heard, like, follow the grandfathers, which really should have been follow the grandmothers because it was so much more matrilineal than it was patrilineal. But then I went to the ancestors and I said, okay, where did we come from before we were here? And it was Ireland and Scotland and England and parts of Germany. And so I sat with that and I started my apprenticeships in Celtic shamanism and Celtic studies. Not Celtic studies, sorry, that's a different thing, but Celtic shamanism. And yeah, and I found myself feeling so enriched because it was not just the connection to spirit, but I was also getting the connection to my bones, the connection in my bones to my ancestors, and therefore to the land. And it was really sitting with the ancestors and feeling this cultural, like the way I would conceive of a year, a calendar year, was always weird. Like I always thought of it as a circle and I couldn't understand why I visually felt that way. And then it comes to learn in the Celtic wheel, the circle of the year is different. And I always felt like winter started when it got dark, which is around Halloween or Samhain.
So did
And yet,
I. Yeah, but
and right.
and
And
it's
yet
not till
everyone
months
says, oh,
later
it's
still.
right. And everyone thinks it's based on the solstice and the equinoxes, but
Right.
no, those are actually the height of the season. And so being with the Celtic calendar was like winter actually starts October 31st, the day before the day of, I guess, Samhain. Is that all the celebrations the night before. And so then it meant that the winter solstice was actually the height of winter. And then the beginning of spring is really February 1st-ish. It depends on the lunar calendar. But anyway, or rather the
Sense.
solar calendar. But yeah, in bulk, it's the spring. It's starting when the light. And so it's all about the light and the moon and the sun and the positioning of the earth. And I was like, oh my God, I feel like I found myself.
That
Like,
makes such
yes.
sense.
And so it's so beautiful, the healing that can come from following that ancestral trail. Okay, so keening work, how that can help someone is keening work is basically it's almost like a psychedelic experience minus the psychedelic medicines.
Mm-hmm.
It is something that we can do with breath, movement, sound, and permission. And when you're in the right space, and people will go into a spontaneous keen at various times of life when they are just fed up, they've had enough, and all of a sudden they just they scream and start crying, or maybe they shut down and get really quiet and very still, and on the inside they're going through tremendous energy changes. It can also happen at someone's death. It can happen at great turmoil. But basically, the keen is this eruption of energy and expression after a certain period of time or certain experiences where we had just absorbed and compressed in. And so keening historically was the performance of by three Manakeen women keeners, and that would have been done at a wake at someone's funeral.
Okay.
And so they would come to the wake, and a wake would take 3 days, and you'd have these three women of funerary rites and spirit. And three is a very sacred number in Celtic tradition. And so they would sing, and they were very performative. They would sing these laments and moan while they were humming, and they would sing about the person. And, oh, Johnny, why did you go so early, and pulling their hair and and
Right.
it was very spooky for
A little
all the
intense.
rest of the
Yeah.
people. Yeah, because they were like channeling the energy, and their positions was twofold.
Right.
One, it was calling forth spirit, the God, well, the who I see as doing this work, but Bive, who's one part of the three-part goddess, the Marigan, who's the goddess of death,
Hmm.
and also sovereignty. But Bive is sacred grief, and her sister Macha is sacred rage, and then you have the Marigan, who is sovereignty. She is very much this queen of death, but it's death in service to remembering one's power. So these keeners, these Manakinsha, are crying and performing to call forth spirit to help this person transition to the other side fully, so their soul doesn't get stuck. And
Mm.
also, they keen to evoke the grief from the collective, so that everyone can get cleansed of their grief. They can let it all out. So when
Right.
it's time to walk back to home or go back to work, everyone's feeling ready for it.
Right.
So keening in the modern way that I host, it's very shamanic. It is all about going inward and starting to reconnect to the wild one within. We all have a wildness energy. And it's not like, I'm gonna go to the grocery store and shoot funfetti all over the place and do, like shake up all the Coke bottles and see people get sprayed. Like, it's not wild, like out of control.
Right.
I mean, it's a little bit, but
I
it's
like your
wildness
visual.
as in, yeah, thank you. And just like, woo, glitter. Everyone hates glitter. So no, I'm just joking. I mean, it's just, you can't get rid of it.
Yeah, you can't get rid of it.
But
Exactly.
it's wildness in the sense of, I'm not going to follow convention if it's not in my highest good.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with social order, but when it comes to the point of repressing someone's authenticity, then it is a problem.
Hmm.
And wildness is saying, I get to be who I am within reason, like without being like a murderer,
Or
right? Like,
disrespectful. Or
or
right.
disrespectful, right?
Exactly.
It's about being one's true self. And so the
It's
keen
the
is
purpose
the
of my show.
process. This is why we're here. And this is
Hmm.
why, yeah. So it's about breathing down into finding that source of wildness. And for so many people, it's the lower belly, because we hold so much power and creativity in our sacral or in our
Hmm.
pelvis. And so it's usually breathing down into the lower belly and feeling this connection to the divine, just feeling it. We don't have to see or know or anything, just feeling that different energy. And then what happens is it goes, the breath and the movement moves you into a journey. And this is where it becomes very psychedelic, because the body just takes over and is like, move this way, make this sound. And it's like people will chant or scream or cry or just breathe and be quiet and rock. Everyone goes into it's very different and unique to the person, and no two keens are the same.
Right.
I all the keens I've experienced for myself have all been different based on what I'm experiencing. And then what happens is that there's this massive outlet of intense release emotions, of the repression of the energies of the emotions, the shame, the rage, the guilt, the embarrassment, the desire, the sadness and regret, whatever it is.
Right.
It comes up and out in that keen. And then what you're left with is your wildness, that connection to that divine expression within. And so the keen is incredibly powerful, because, like I said, it is this psychedelic transformative experience without ever actually eating or drinking anything that may or may not be legal, right?
Right.
It's
Exactly.
just you. It's you remembering your power and remembering your agency.
And
And that
reclaiming
is
that.
right. It's
Yes.
incredible. And then what do we do when we see it and we find it and we remember it? We can't go back. We
No.
can't go back to pretending, right? And that's just like the awakening. You woke up to seeing like, oh my God, the world looks like this. What am I doing how did I get here? Right? When we hit that awakening, like, we can't go back. It's the same thing when we find in our wildness within. We can't go back. And so that is where it becomes this journey then of, okay, I feel this in me. Now what? And it's like, okay, girl, put on them boots. Let's go. Like, and then you start walking, and you find it. And that's that intuitive guidance as well. And that's something that I try to provide my clients with is, yes, I'll walk you through these massive these massive uncoverings, and I'll help you integrate them. But then even afterwards, like, it might be like, I feel like the inside of my body got a hot shower. Why do I feel like that? Okay, well, I can explain it, because now you're not encased in this armor that was created to protect you from the world. Now you have your divine guidance back online, so you naturally and intuitively can navigate the world as safely as possible for you, and therefore you don't need that armor, so it fell off. So you're feeling and seeing and experiencing more of the present moment of the
Mm-hmm.
world than you have before. And so, it's like talking people through that afterwards
It's a
is something
lighter
that I
place
think is so
to
important.
live.
Oh, yeah. It's great.
It is a wonderful place to live.
It's so worth it. It's so worth all the uncertainty and uncomfortableness. It's
Oh
so
yeah,
worth
going
it.
through the pain, going through that dark night of the soul, like going through all of that.
Hmm.
It's just that healing process. Yeah, like you said, it's the fear of the unknown, but once you get to the other side, you just like it's so freeing and just so I could never go back.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
We love those versions of ourselves, but we don't want to be
absolutely.
them again.
Absolutely. You know what? I respect that part of myself. I respect the journey. I
Exactly.
respect what I had to go through. I respect every single, and I'm so grateful for it because it
Yeah.
just made me appreciate so much more where I've landed right
Mhm.
now.
That's right. Yep. Mm.
Before we continue today's episode, I want to share one of my favorite collections from Luna Inverse Studio. The Awaken Your Authentic Self collection was created for those moments when life invites us to stop performing, stop pretending, and simply come home to ourselves. These aren't just shirts, they're wearable reminders to live with courage, authenticity, and intention. If one speaks to your soul, you can explore the collection through the link in today's show notes. Now, let's return to today's conversation. Now,
Yes.
Martha, let's talk. You work with soulpreneurs and businesses. I love that term, by the way, soulpreneurs. What is the number one spiritual bypass that you see leaders doing right now that is actually blocking their business growth?
Oh gosh. Okay. Let me take a breath with that.
Ah.
So I don't know. I don't know if this is number one for everybody, but something that I find that comes up a lot is going to sound ridiculous, but making mommy and daddy proud.
Huh.
How
It doesn't
how
sound
is
ridiculous
that
at all.
how is that childhood wound, that childhood need for validation, attention, love, and in witnessing, right? How is that manifesting into behavior? Am I overworking because I want to prove myself? Am I doing something that isn't truly my soul expression or desire or what I really am trying to say because I'm trying to be someone I'm not?
Right.
These are ways in which people tend to, or yeah, I think I've already said that part. Yeah. So I think in thinking about like in when I say mommy daddy, it's an archetypal energy. For some people that could be coach or a teacher, it could be older
It could be your
sibling, it could
manager. It
be
could be anybody.
exactly,
Absolutely.
boss,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. I remember that day, there was a day that hit me where I realized I was looking at my boss for validation for the hard work I did as though I was looking at my father for love.
Mm.
And my dad was very loving. I'm not discounting that. However, I did have this ancestral pattern of unloved child parent relationship that came through.
Mhm.
My dad was the first to break that cycle. But I was the first to be able to heal it for the ancestors. So I'm really proud of
Nice.
that. But yeah, that's something that I think archetypally, when we sit back and think, how am I pushing myself beyond my genuine truth or capabilities to try and make someone else happy or to show the world that I can be something that I don't have to be.
Yeah. That's, and
It's
I'll say
hard.
that is very hard. And I'll say, thank goodness. That's actually, and I think I always had a little bit of wildness in me. I was never really worried about making people proud. I was more just trying to find myself and figure out what it was I was really supposed to do. But once my last corporate job, I really was trying to make my boss proud. And that's because he was so just, what's the word I'm looking for? He was just so, I won't say comforting, but he just,
Yeah.
he was just something I had never had in my life as far as a male role model.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And but he never made me feel bad about anything, So it was just, he was just the perfect person. And once he left, that's when I realized that job was not for me.
Yeah. Yeah. You stayed for the manager, not for the job,
I
and I
actually
think that's
stayed for the
also,
employees also, but the new
oh,
manager made that impossible because, oh my God, they were so wonderful. I loved them so much. I'd walk in, this was corporate. My new manager couldn't even understand why you walk in and your employees hug you. That should tell you a lot about how I manage.
yeah. Yeah. No, it's true. And that's actually something that I've had clients say, like, my client, or not my client, my employee's going through a rough spot, and I listened, and then we hugged, like, is that okay? And it's like, actually, we need more of that. I mean, within reason. Again, it
Right.
has to be the employee that wants the hug and asks for the hug.
Right.
And as long as the manager doesn't feel like there's some cringe energy in there, like, oh, do you need to touch me for some, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
you know, again, everything is so individual, but another way that it manifests, this like parent thing that I talk about, is also in the bullying. And we see
Mm,
this a lot in corporate America and in politics. It's this me, 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 I. Screw all you guys. I need the attention. So
right.
I'm going to send that email at 7:30 at night to show that I'm still working. I'm going to be the one that doesn't stop talking in the meetings. Or I'm going to sit here and say, your opinions don't matter because what about this?
Oh, I
And it's
had a
like,
coworker like that.
no, like, oh my God,
Hmm.
right? Like, it's like, I'm so sorry you didn't get the orange slices after soccer every Saturday. But like, can you just for a minute, like, trust that people hear you?
Right.
Can you also
Trust that other
listen
people
to
know what they're
others?
doing. Exactly. You're not the only person in the room.
Right. And that's something that I'm trying to do more of with at least in my museum tours that I do, is like, how can we compassionately listen and realize that in listening to each other, and this is in my practice too, that in listening to each other, we actually see we have a lot more in common than we don't. They may have different faces and names, but we all believe very similar or want similar things. And the truth is, so much of the wounded masculine expression, and that could be women and men or trans or non binary, like everyone has that yin and that yang, or that feminine and masculine energy. But in that wounded masculine, that I will fight to prove that I deserve blah, 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 it's just causing more pain for the self and everyone else. Whereas if we just take a few deep breaths and say, I'm in pain and I'd like to be heard, then it's like, oh my gosh, yeah, of course I'll listen. And then when I'm done listening, I'll say to you, like, may I share? And then it's like, well, actually, yes, you may.
Right.
Like, and that's kind of like that whole, like, if it's appropriate in the moment to hug a colleague or whatever. And again, always ask permission and be okay if they say no. It's not about you, it's just their boundary. Like, you know, we just have to be open. We just have
Hmm.
to be open to listening and hearing one another and trusting that what they're saying isn't about us. Their truth is reflected of reflectant. I think I just made that word up.
I do that all
Reflecting
the
their
time. Welcome
own.
to my world.
It's reflecting their experience and their pains and their joys, their hopes. It's them in response to the situation that you're embroiled in, sure.
Right.
But and if we owe an apology, we owe an apology, but that doesn't mean that we are a jerk. It just means that maybe we made a mistake, or maybe we overstepped a boundary we didn't know was there. Or maybe someone had an expectation of us that they didn't explain, and we can apologize if they feel that way, but that doesn't mean we take it on as our responsibility to fix. So, like, compassionate listening is more than just absorbing. It's being present with what's being said and navigating intuitively. okay, where's my connection here? What am I responsible for? What am I just witnessing for them? And how do I want to respond that honors me? It's a lot of self-awareness. In every step of the journey that we take of healing, we get closer and closer and closer to that like ideal place in the way we navigate and communicate in life.
Absolutely. You said that's so well said. Better than me
Thank you.
stumbling over my one word. Now, Martha, I would love for us now to fulfill the promise that we made at the beginning of this conversation. So, for everyone listening right now, if it's safe for them to do so, could you please guide us through that 2-minute somatic practice you mentioned? Something they could use to shift from anxiety into grounded sovereign presence. And if you're listening and you're driving or operating anything that needs your full attention, just listen for now, please, and come back to this part later when you can fully drop in. Martha, the mic is yours.
All right. So if you, as Jessica's already said, if you can, just kind of, and if you feel good doing so, close your eyes. If not, just kind of take a gentle gaze towards the horizon or the floor. Taking a few deep breaths in, not forcing it too fast, gentle flow in through the mouth or the nose, down through the chest. Try to reach the pelvis with this breath and then feel it come back up through the chest and out through the neck and the face. And when you're ready, doing another breath like that, but softer this time. Don't force it all the way down. Just see where the breath goes naturally, how it expands and contracts in the form, trying to elongate the breath itself. And then with that third breath, breathing in carefully, cautiously down through the back of the neck, down the spine, just in case you have any physical issues, down through the back of the pelvis. And as you exhale, exhaling down through the legs to the bottom of the feet. Now, what we are going to do is we are going to ask your highest self, we're going to ask the divine, both earth and great spirit, to come together and to share with you your Merkaba. Your Merkaba is a 6-pointed triangle. It's kind of like the the Star of David, almost like it. So it's an inverted triangle and a regular triangle that overlap. But using your imagination, if you can, because your imagination can also be a tool for intuition and divine communication. With your next inhale in, feeling from the ground, from the great Mother Earth, from nature, from these divine allies of soil, earth, animal, plant, water, rising up around your legs, up across your body, all the way up until it reaches just below the chest line. Feeling this triangle, whatever color, what material, what do you feel like it is? And if you're like, I don't know, then just take a breath and be open, be playful with it. What color makes your heart sing? Might it be that color? What material from the earth are you feeling holding you? And feeling it as though it is this 3D, you can feel the plane of the top kind of resting underneath your chest as this flat plane, and then you feel the point just past your feet as it touches and holds with the earth. And with your next breath, breathing up through the body, up through the top of the head, and feeling from Great Spirit coming down. Another triangle, this one pointed upwards so that the point will be above the head, and the base, the plane, the flat plane of it will actually reach down past the plane of the inverted triangle underneath your feet until the flat base of this Great Spirit triangle sits just above your hips. Right there at the hip line, feeling it connect and solidify with the base, the root chakra of your body. Take a breath with this triangle. What color? What material? What frequency? How does it feel around you? Again, the triangle itself reaching out past your arms and the top above your head, and then the other inverted or rather upside down triangle from the earth, the triangle tip beneath your feet, both reaching past you so you can't quite touch it if you wanted to, but you are held by it. And now you're going to take another breath and you're going to breathe into the middle, the space that overlaps these two triangles, where the points overlap one another's flat space to create this beautiful six-sided, shape around the core of your body, holding you. Feel it, see it, smell it, just know it's there. And as it's there, maybe it gently spins, maybe it rotates very quickly, but we are asking this Merkaba shape with the breath as you breathe in through the body and out within this Merkaba. We ask that it holds your energy frequency, is connected with the earth as she holds and invites you to be held, and is invited and rather held by Great Spirit as well, as Great Spirit reaches frequency down to hold it. And so together they hold you, a container of love, of truth, of presence and belonging, of connection from the earth, from Great Spirit, the divine interwoven around your body, holding you. So as you breathe, you can feel the beautiful, intense connection that connects with you in your body as well, not just around, but inside. So breathing those colors into the core of your body until you feel yourself just sigh and relax a little bit more. And what's beautiful about this Merkaba is it keeps your energy just very well held. And also you have now almost like a filter. So any energy coming in from the outside world slows down so you can process the experience a little bit quicker with a little bit more awareness and presence. And you can also ask Great Spirit, ask the Earth Mother, or ask the Divine as these two forces as one. You can ask the Divine, protect me from, and then fill in the blanks, energy that you are ready to stop connecting with. Or help me feel the flow of abundance of blank, of what you're ready to call in. This Merkaba is not just a shield, but it's like a part of you. It's a part of the organ of life. And so it holds your energy, it protects you, it connects you, but it's also a way through which you can experience the world, especially as you're in your healing path and your expansion of awareness through your awakening journey. And it doesn't ever have to go away. And if you want it to, you can, but there's no sense in it. I mean, it's there to protect and love you. And if you feel like you need to add a Merkaba to your home, to your car, to a family member, then breathe with the one you have. Feel it duplicate with the guidance of Great Spirit and the earth, and then bring that Merkaba to the very thing you are offering it to, knowing that their high self, their soul self, whether it is a person or a place, a part of nature, an ally of the earth, they may have their own agency and they may not receive it, and that's up to them. We have to bless and release when that happens. So I thank you. And yeah, I hope that you feel this added layer of support and love and guidance and protection.
Thank you, Martha.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that beautiful practice and for the depth, honesty, and tenderness that you brought to this entire conversation. And let's not forget humor. Thank you for showing up today, not just as an expert, but as a mirror for all of us. The way you hold space for the messy parts of being human, the way you hold space for grief and transformation is such a profound gift. And I know everyone listening felt that permission to be fully themselves today. And I know so many hearts are going to feel less alone because of what you shared.
Oh, thank you, Jessica. And thank you all for listening. It's an honor and a privilege, and I don't take it for granted what I'm able to do in this life, and it's just a blessing. So thank you for giving me the space to share that.
Thank you. And you're welcome. I'm so grateful for you. Now, for those who are feeling really resonant with your work, where can they find you, learn more, experience your offerings?
Sure. So I would love for people to join my email list. I send about 4 to 6 emails a year. So it's really not, you don't get blasted with stuff from me. My website is Martha MW, as in MarthaMedicineWoman.com. So it's MarthaMW.com. I'm on Instagram under Martha Medicine Woman, and I have a lot of my videos stored on YouTube under Martha Wright Shaman, which is my old moniker. And yeah, you're so happy to have you on any of those, but would love to have you on my email list because, I have my last retreats coming up in April. I don't know if this will be on air before that happens, but that's okay. But then there's also classes, like I'll be teaching an online and hybrid class this summer, and again in the future, and offerings and sessions. And I'm writing a book to hopefully have available at the start of the next calendar year or at the beginning of Imbolc 2027. So I would love to be able to share all that info with anyone who's ready and willing.
Perfect. We will have all of Martha's links in the show notes, so please go connect with her world if you felt something awaken in you today. And to you, dear
Thank you.
listener, thank you, Martha. Listener, thank you for being here, for your presence, and for your courage to meet yourself more deeply. Your time and your energy are so sacred, and I'm truly honored that you chose to spend them with us. If this episode supported you in any way, it would mean so much if you would follow, subscribe to the podcast, and share this conversation with someone you love who might need it. That's how these healing stories and tools find the people who are quietly praying for them. Until next time, keep listening to your body, keep trusting your inner wisdom, and remember you are worthy of an authentic, aligned life. I'll see you in the next episode.